Welcome to Lined Musings. Today is a new pen day for me. I was lucky enough to have Benu reach out to me and ask me if I wanted to try out one of their pens. So I went ahead and selected this Edelweiss fountain pen from their Talisman range. And as you can see, the packaging here is all made out of paper, which means it's all recyclable. And it looks like we've got a blue ink cartridge here as well. And in this box we get a little pamphlet which tells the story of the Edelweiss mountain flower and the myth and history behind why it is believed to be a symbol of love, which is really corny, but I think it's really cute that these pens all have a little story behind them. So I'll take some time to read this later, but I really appreciate that they've included this in the box. I'm actually so tempted to use it as ephemera, but I don't know if I'll be able to bring myself to do it. This is just a warranty card. Most pens come with one of these, so I'll just pop these all back in the box and we can take a look at the pen. It actually took me a while to land on this one. I was so tempted to go with something more neutral, which is generally what I go for, but Benu is known for their extravagant colours and glitter and shine and all of the extra features. So that is what I went for here, and as you can see, she is a beauty. And even more so in person. I have seen so many videos and photos of this pen now, and it is so much more beautiful in person. I like how the Talisman pen design has these facets, as you can see, and it just helps really catch the sunlight and reflects in this beautiful way that just complements the glitter and little elements inside of this pen. Another nice component of this design is that they add in elements of Edelweiss in the body of this pen. I think they ground it up and add it to the resin, which is pretty cool. I feel like it gives me Frozen Elsa vibes. And here we have the clip, which is actually functional. You can see here it does actually open up as you push it down at the tip here, and it really is quite sturdy too. And we have the little Benu logo here, just nice and subtle but still there. And let's do a little cap twist test to see how many twists it takes to get this pen open, which is kind of important for people who write on the go or just want to open up their pen relatively quickly. Let me try that again. So that's 1, and then 2, and a tiny bit. So 2 and a tiny bit. And here we have the stainless steel Schmidt No. 6 nib, which is kind of on the larger side. Just taking a closer look. Come to think of it, it also reminds me of glowworm caves. I've been to a couple in my travels, and I feel like this accurately represents what that vibe is like. I'm not sure I would write with this posted. It is kind of on the longer side, but without it posted, it is a really good size and also quite light considering how large this pen is. Inside here we have a converter, so it does come with one. I wasn't sure if it did, but there we go, a Schmidt converter. And so that is the pen, and I thought it might be helpful for you guys to see how the size of this pen compares with some of the other pens that I have in my collection. I've just got the ones that are currently inked here, but they are also some pretty common fountain pens, so a good way for you to gauge the size of these pens without necessarily measuring them with a ruler. I'll take this Sailor pen out because we don't need 2 Pro Gear Slims in here. And the Pelikan M400 can go as well. It's on the smaller side, so I will keep the Platinum in here, and I'll pop the Benu in the first slot. We've got this Esterbrook SD, just trying to line them up from the finial, just so that we have a good comparison point. And I'll just leave the Pro Gear Slim there. I'm thinking I might also compare it with the Pilot Custom 823, which is a popular cigar shaped pen that's on the larger side. And you know what, I'm going to remove the Pro Gear Slim because I do have another larger popular pen, and it is the TWSBI Diamond 580. Let me just open up this pen case and find it. Here it is. Actually, she's a bit dusty. Let me just wipe her down. Sometimes I forget that this one exists in my collection just because it sits with some of my other pens. Anyway, let me line these up so that you can see the size difference. Now, the pen is definitely larger than the Platinum 3776, and it seems like it is smaller than the TWSBI. I'll just try to order these in longest to shortest. So I think Benu sits on 4th place. So 823, SD, Diamond 580, and then we have the Benu Talisman. Just line that up better so you can see. And then from here we have the Platinum 3776. So it is a relatively large pen in the fountain pen world, but also not the largest. And I did choose this pen specifically for that reason. I know Benu does have quite a few other pens that are on the larger side, but I have small hands and I thought that this would be perfect for me, and I do love this size so far. And I did mention that I probably wouldn't write with this posted, but I may as well demonstrate to you the size of these pens when they are posted as well. I thought this pen would look out of place in my collection because it's not as neutral coloured as my other pens, but I really like the contrast of the bright blue and the glitter against these pens that we have here on my tray at the moment. The TWSBI surprisingly gets really long when it is posted. I definitely don't write with the TWSBI posted ever, but yeah, so there is a difference when you do start posting the pens. So what we're seeing here is the TWSBI, and then the SD, the 823, then the Benu, and the Platinum pen. And I would say that the Benu is around the same size as the SD when it is posted. Okay, so I hope that helps for anyone who does love to write with their pens posted. To be honest, the only pen I would write with posted from this little range here would be the Platinum. My collection is really starting to continue getting bigger even. I'm not really buying pens that often, but when there is one that just grabs my attention, I go for it. So I think I'm going to have to change up my pen storage soon because I'm running out of space. Just sitting against those pens, I just feel like this pen is so beautiful and so sparkly, and it really does stand out, especially with the stark black and the bright blue. Okay, so that is the size comparison segment of this video done. And now for the fun part, let's test out this size 6 Schmidt stainless steel nib. I've got this Diamine Bliss Advent Calendar ink, and then here this Robert Oster Romeo and Juliet colour, and Fairy Swill Press Blue Yosemite Falls. I've also got this other Fairy Swill Press ink here, which might match it pretty well. It is Unfettered Flight. And I have my little Hobonichi notebook here with the pen swatches in the front. So just thought I'd show you what those colours are before I pick out the one I'm going to use today. So here is that Bliss shade by Diamine, and I believe it was from the 2023 Advent Calendar. It's quite a good match, and this Yosemite Fall one's perfect, but on the lighter side. So we've got Unfettered Flight, which is more blue. I think Bliss is kind of the perfect in-between colour, and it's pigmented enough to be able to show how this pen performs on this Tomoe River paper. And this notebook is the Day Free Hobonichi from 2024, so it will be the Tomoe River Sanson paper. And just to make sure that this performs well, I'm going to ink it up through the nib and into the cartridge. I guess I could just do a little dippy dip situation, but I do actually want to use this pen for my 5-year TET show this week, so I am going to ink it up properly. Alright, let's write something down. Just want to make sure I get the spelling of this pen right, and hopefully if there is any feedback you'll be able to hear it. Okay, so it is quite smooth, and this is in the fine nib. I did forget to mention that earlier, but yes, it is a fine nib, just like a majority of my fountain pens. And there is the tiniest bit of feedback, but I wouldn't say it is akin to a sailor type of feedback. It is representative of what you would get from a steel nib. Some little figure eights, or whatever these are, some upstrokes and downstrokes. It is a really smooth writer, especially for a fine nib. And given it is a Western nib, you would expect for it to be more like a Japanese medium, or I'd even say a medium fine. And I really like this Bliss Diamine ink I've chosen here. I feel like it is a perfect match. I am keen to try the Blue Yosemite Falls Fairy Swill Press ink in here as well, but it was on the lighter side, so for this demonstration I thought that this ink would be a bit more appropriate. So yeah, I'd say this pen is very smooth and it has a tiny bit of feedback. Okay, I think that'll do for now. Yep. What I'll do from here is try out some of my other pens so that you can see the difference with this Schmidt nib and the other nibs I have here in my collection. This is the Esterbrook SD, and this is in a fine nib. I would say that this one is a little thicker, but of course it could also be the ink that I have in here, which is a Sailor ink. Yep, that one is definitely a thicker nib writing experience. So if you've tried an SD before, I would say that the Fine by Benu is just a tad finer. And for the next larger fine nib pen I have here, I'm going to try the Pilot Custom 823 and just releasing some of that ink, opening it up. As you can see already, this fine Japanese nib is a lot thinner than the Benu and also the American SD Estabrook. So the Pilot Custom 823, got a little bit of fluff in here. I haven't used this pen in a while, but that is another thing, I haven't used this pen in a while and it is still writing quite well, and that's because of the little sealing mechanism that it has. Such a great pen, this one. Okay, and the last pen that I wanted to try out here is my Sailor Nagasawa Hamori B, and this is in a fine nib. But I did get this one adjusted by Nagasawa, so it does write differently to a fine. I would say it is closer to a medium fine. Okay, and with that we have a few pens here to compare it against. They're all fairly similar, but I would say this Benu fine nib is somewhere in between the SD fine nib and the Sailor Nagasawa pen. And that is everything I wanted to do with this pen. I wanted to actually take this time to thank Benu for this opportunity and gifting me with this pen. It is so beautiful, and I will leave a link down below if you're interested in purchasing one for yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.